Questions? Oh. No, thank you for all those who asked the questions. And sorry if sometimes, get late for things, because sometimes you're always, whatever question you have, the first one is right in front of you, that becomes really important. Please forget me if I just neglect some of the ones which come afterwards. The one right now is always the most important question in the whole world. Very good. Here's the most important question. Okay. What is the differences between mind and mind objects? Mind is the sense base. It's actually just like the eye and the optic nerve and all that stuff inside the brain to process what you see. That's part of the mind. The mind objects is what the mind can experience. Sights. The same with sound. The sound is the sense of hearing, and the sound are the objects of the sense of hearing. Smell, taste, touch are the same. You've got the bodily sensations, not just in the skin, because sometimes you can have like a tummy ache inside. You know that you've got sensory receptors all over your body. But it's amazing, it's a very good fortune. You don't have any sensory receptors inside your brain. Otherwise, we'd all go pretty crazy with all the silly stuff we sometimes think about. But nevertheless, we have sensory receptors, for a sense of touch all over. But the objects, that's called the objects of that sense. And we've got the mind and its mind objects. Now that is more interesting because the mind is this incredibly vast organ, you might say. And it's not the same as the other sense objects. Because if the mind object stops working, then all the senses stop working. That's why it was Aristotle who called it the common sense. It's common sense because you can take up any of the objects of the other five senses, and it's only got its own area as well. And many people know just how it picks up objects of the other five senses. Now we can fantasize, we can dream, we can plan. And sometimes that's interesting, it's useful, because sometimes for example, if you want to be healthy, what is health? It's a physical sensation. Do you recognize, what is a healthy feeling inside your body? And this is part of the meditation. We don't usually focus on too much, simply because we want to sort of take it further into these deep meditations. But whenever I do the scanning meditation of your body, you start from one place in the body and you scan usually upwards, and you can relax all the different parts of your body so fantastically deeply. And basically I've never been so relaxed as when you do a scanning meditation. You take sort of your knees, and I can kind of imagine my knees. It's the mind it is a mind object, but it is imagining just what the knee could feel like if it was really peaceful and healthy. And soon you can actually almost construct that inside that part of your body. Never underestimate sort of the power of imagination. In other types of meditation, we call them visualizations. And those visualizations can be very, very close to reality. And so if you can imagine, just your body feeling so healthy and peaceful and just at ease, then that assists the actual real part of the body becoming at ease. So this is actually how when I do a scanning of the body, if I get any part of my body which is tense, tight, it's not feeling the usual way it feels, then I'd always stop there and give it so much kindness. Zap it with kindness. Because that kindness, I'm sure each one of you have experienced its power. Where I first experienced the power of kindness was again from my own mother. As a kid, a poor council flat, and so a lot of times when the weather was okay, you'd be outside in a park playing soccer with your friends. And sometimes not even in the park, but just in the back of the backyards. And every time you went for a tackle playing soccer and you fell over, you'd scrape the skin off your knees. And I was often just, you'd stop playing for a while, you were injured, you run to your mummy, 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 I'm bleeding. And my mother, she was so well trained in hygiene that all she would do, she would kneel down and kiss the wound. Kiss it better, she said. With her mouth, with all of her germs, all of those bugs in there, and they were just mixing up with my blood as she kissed it. But every time she did that, I took it for granted. I was a kid, knew no better. Always the pain would disappear almost immediately, and then it would never get infected. And even today, many people notice if I cut myself or fall over or scratch myself, I never, hardly ever gets infected. I've got a really good immune system. And so, where did that come from? A lot of it is actually giving kindness to yourself. And that's what I do for you. If any of you say you're really hurting, you feel sick, you've got some sort of fever, what do? Sometimes I don't call doctor, I don't inject you with any medicine, I look at you, what part of the body is it? Say maybe your knees. And I look at those knees, and I call it like zapping it with kindness. I've really been doing this, training this for years. Really getting this beautiful energy of kindness and goodness, and just focusing it right on your knee. Of course it works. One thing we did once, just to prove it, that at the end of a retreat, after 9 days of meditating, I asked everybody in the room, okay, let's do some loving kindness, really get some powerful loving kindness up. And then I looked at the clock. This is now 8:12 p.m. And I said, right, now I want you to, with your eyes closed, choose one of the people you live with, a good friend or something, who's very sick. And now, imagine them as if they were right in front of you. And give them every bit of loving kindness you can. May this person recover. May they be free of pain. May they start healing. May the inflammations go down. Fevers start to lessen in temperature. The ache, the pain, the very hard pains, may they all sort of vanish right now. And they go on like this for a couple of minutes. And then I tell them, right, this is the last day of the retreat, so tomorrow, call your friend. Just have an ordinary conversation. Don't push the point, but then in the middle of the conversation, just ask them, say, what were you doing at 8:12 p.m. last night? I don't do that little test anymore. The reason was because the day after, you call your friend, I get all these people calling me. Ajahn Brahm, it worked. I called my friend and said, that's really strange, because I was thinking of you about that time last night. It's actually pretty close to 8:12. And so many people just told me, I put that phone down and said, another one, yes, Ajahn Brahm, it worked. Yes, I know. And then another phone, it worked. It does work. That's even at a distance. Imagine when it's somebody right in front of you. You get some real strong kindness coming up. Zap. So because of that, you know that's one of the wonderful mind objects, just kindness. Very powerful. And I always say that's what can sometimes heal the cancers. This was an experiment which I witnessed when I was a student at Cambridge. I said I was part of the university's Psychic Research Society. That's what it was called. We just did weird experiments, but they were brilliant. One of those experiments were under hypnosis. So we hypnotized one of our friends, one of the students, and then we had this stick, long stick, with a 4-inch nail on the end. And we hypnotized this student and told this student under hypnosis that nail on the end of the stick had been heated until it was red hot. And then we touched the student on the arm, on the skin with this nail. And he screamed in pain. That nail was room temperature. It was not hot at all, but because he was hypnotized into believing it was boiling hot, he screamed in pain. I could understand that, but what really shocked me was where that nail had touched his skin, a blister came up. And that was a room temperature nail. And it still caused a blister. And that was quite shocking to see that, just the power of the mind. If you believed it was red hot, it wouldn't just hurt, it would actually create a wound. But of course, from that, you started to think, well, if the mind can create a blister, why can't the mind make tumors disappear? And now that's fascinating. How many people suffer incredibly, from cancers? And that was actually showing right in front of my eyes that maybe something can be done. And so a lot of time I've been messing around with stuff like that, and every now and again it works. Imagine what that feels like. Someone's been given up by their doctors. Sorry, no hope. Okay, this story, here we go. One of these stories. It's one of my favorite ones. I was teaching over in Sydney, a retreat. And there was one gentleman who came on this retreat. He said he was not a Buddhist, only he was really suffering. His doctors hadn't sent him to this retreat. He just chose himself because he had nothing else to do. He was dying. And the first day at this retreat, I had all these questions from people, the same question. Can you please tell everybody to breathe quietly in the meditation room? And then I apologized. I said, sorry, I should have let you know. That gentleman who's breathing loudly, he can't breathe through his nose. He's got this huge tumor blocking his sinuses. He's got sinus cancer. And, he's come on this retreat as a last, what he said, throw of the dice, because nothing else was working. His doctors had given up on him. He was preparing to die. So that's all he could do, was to sit there. And as soon as I explained to them why he was breathing through his nose so loudly, no one else complained from that moment on. And they said it's also, it didn't disturb them anymore. It was this wonderful sensation of and I hope it works for him. I hope he gets better. They had loving kindness towards him. And loving kindness and fault-finding complaints can't exist together. So, but he was meditating all the time. And after 9 days, nothing was working. And so I had to get into the car to go to Sydney Airport to come back to Perth. But as I got into the car, I saw him running towards the car. He caught me just before I left. He said, Ajahn Brahm, please stop for a moment. So, yeah, what is it? And he said, his very last meditation, when he was sitting there, he heard a popping sound. That's what he always called it, a popping sound. And he said, for 1 minute, I could breathe through my nose. I don't know what's happening, he said. He was more surprised than anybody else. But he could actually breathe through his nose, and then the blockage sort of blocked his nasal passages again. That was the very last meditation, which is actually usually what happens when you give up and you stop trying. That's usually when this great experience is happening. So anyway, I said, well, don't give up, carry on. It popped once, it can pop again. But honestly, I thought he'd left it too late. So I went to the plane and flew back to Perth and just forgot about him. And 6 months later, I was giving another talk in another place in Sydney. And this guy came up to me and he said, Ajahn Brahm, do you remember me? Don't do that to me. Because I have to be honest. And I said, no, who are you? And he replied, I was that guy. Nah, you can't be. Someone who is dying of cancer, they look so different. They look just hardly any flesh on them, weak, really sort of like a dying colour. He said, I was that guy. I said, I understand you don't recognise me, because I look at those photographs when I went to that retreat and look at me now, it looks very different. He said, I carried on meditating as you taught me. And he said, many pops later, the sinus went into remission, the sinus cancer. Now I'm total remission, fully healthy. And I'm spending the rest of my life, however many years I have, teaching other people what you taught me. It works. And for him, he overcame his sinus cancer, which was terminal. I don't know how many more years he has, but he was in full remission. When I saw him, he really looked healthy. That's actually what happens. So understanding these mind and mind objects, it's amazing what you can do by adding this wonderful kindness, which is a mind object. You understand what it is, you really get it strong. That's one of the reasons why people with cancer especially, it's life and death for them. They don't mess around. When they meditate, if they don't do it properly, they're not going to be here much longer. And so that's why they really put a lot of, I wouldn't say energy, negative energy, but it's a beautiful energy where they can really focus. And it's wonderful to know it can work. So the mind objects, you've got something like loving kindness. One of those other mind objects, which I focus on a lot, is peace. Don't you wish other people, may you be at peace? What is it? What does it mean? It's more than a word. It's this fantastic, powerful quality, which after a while, when you meditate a lot and a lot, day in, day out, you can actually feel what peace really is. It's a mind object. But how you can describe it, my goodness, I find it tough to find the right words which can really encapsulate what peace really means. But it's more that these days you can't explain it or describe it, but you can feel it. As soon as peace starts getting strong in my meditation, you can feel it, you can recognize it. But how I can explain it to anybody else is just, I'm not skilled enough there with words. You need a poet, much more than a poet who meditates a lot. But you know what it is. I recognize it all the time, and it's a beautiful object. So beautiful that when it comes up into my mind, you feel peace. And not as some sort of attainment, it's just this gorgeous quality which is in your mind. And then you can't do very much afterwards. If I do guided meditation, you may have heard me do this. You're guiding other people, then it works, and I'm doing it as well. And I feel this beautiful peace inside the mind, not inside the body. And it's so powerful, it shuts me up. I just can't carry on with the guided meditation. I have to say, I have to be quiet now. And you get this wonderful meditation, you can feel peace. It's a beautiful thing, it's right with you. And there's many other those beautiful qualities. There's the chanting we do. There's one chant which we would always do when I first came here to Perth, and it was the 4 Brahma Viharas chant and spreading it, up, down, all over. And I remember just chanting that and really getting into it. You don't just chant it and think of something else. You're really spreading this, first of all, this metta, and then karuna, mudita, upekkha. I would never get to upekkha ever. I very rarely get to mudita. Usually karuna, or even before that with metta, you'll be chanting it and going along with what the words said and what they meant, and you just bliss out. You couldn't speak anymore. You really got into it. You felt what metta really is, full on. It's incredibly powerful. And so I just sitting there with a silly smile on my face, and Ajahn Jaka would ask, "Why aren't you chanting, Ajahn Brahm?" And I couldn't answer him. I'd answer him later. So I was just blissing out on what that chant was asking me to do. And it was a gorgeous thing to do. So these objects, like even loving kindness, is a mind object. Incredibly powerful. Once you get into it, you understand just why you do some of these chanting for some people, and it really, really works. So that's mind and mind objects. Only a little bit of them, but ooh. Next question, how do I know a career is the right one for me? How do I know my purpose? Look at me. How do I know that a monk life was the best for me? And of course you didn't. A lot of times that things kind of happened. Okay, it was not like fate, but it was certainly a hugely strong inclination, for monastic life. And it wasn't I didn't have any alternatives. I had a great degree. I was young, handsome, fit, no problems. And so, it's like the world was my oyster, so they say. But then again, going to a university like Cambridge, and there was a Cambridge University Buddhist Society, which I joined straight away. When I said that first Buddhist I met, and that was Bernard, that's why I mention him a lot, I never realized what would become of him, that he was one of the 2 or 3 inner circle of Stephen Hawking's. He was also a theoretical physicist, was Bernard. Also a member, he was much higher up in the Psychic Research Society. He became the president of the London Psychic Research Society. For a while he told me to keep it quiet because he was a top physicist, a theoretical physicist, professor of theoretical physics in Queen Mary College in London University. He's a really smart guy. And he was such a nice guy as well. And the last time we hung out together, we had this conference, the Global Conference on Buddhism in Singapore just a year ago. And I just asked the organizers, because I do have a lot of influence in Singapore. I said, can we get Bernard to come? He really is, a close associate, or he was when Stephen Hawking was alive. And you can get a scientist, a top scientist, who really knows what he's talking about and has got very good credentials. Can't we get him to talk about Buddhism? Which he did. He was also a Buddhist. And so he was the guy, when I went up to Cambridge, they had this societies fair, all of the recreational activities you could do in your spare time. We had spare time. And there were things like, I always remember the Hare and Hounds Club, fox hunting. It was Cambridge, a posh place. No way I'm going to get involved in that. But when I saw Cambridge University Buddhist Society, it shocked me. You mean there's actually other Buddhists in this world? and so I went up to the counter, I always remember this, and I had a £1 note, because that was how much it cost to join. I said, I want to join. And the fellow behind the counter, who was Bernard, and he said, no, you don't have to join, just come and see if you like it. Then you can join up later. I said, no, look, I am a Buddhist, I want to join. He said, no, just come and see and experiment and test it out, see if you really want to be a member. And that's what I was angry. And I got my £1 note and banged it on the table. I want to join. So he had to join me up. And of course, a lifelong friend. And why did I do that? No one else did. But that was just an inclination of being drawn to being a Buddhist. And I remember the first monk I saw, it was a Tibetan monk. It was, wow. It was like seeing a film star. It wasn't a film star, no one actually knew him, but nevertheless, there was something about seeing a real monk. The first time I meditated. And I remember just writing poems about my aspiration to become a monk. But that was only just aspirations. And then eventually, one of the nice things, I feel a lot of gratitude towards Thai Buddhism, was there you can become a monk for a short time. You really do test it out. For 3 months, for 1 month, for a year or whatever. And so when I asked my mother for permission, is it okay if I go over to Thailand and become a monk? And it probably won't work out, and I'll probably come back within 6 months. That's a very good argument. If any of you feel that you want to become a monk or a nun, just tell them that many people leave, it doesn't work out for them, then your parents feel much more at ease. I'll just become a monk for 6 months. And after 6 months, another 6 months. And after a while, they get used to you being a monk. But what happened to me when I first ordained as a novice monk, I was in Bangkok. And the reason they didn't send me up to the northeast because they didn't think I was serious. And so I was ordained up in Bangkok, and the first 3 nights I would wake up, I remember this so clearly, I woke up in the middle of the night with a nightmare. You know what my nightmare was? The same nightmare for 3 nights in a row. My nightmare was I was a layperson. When I opened my eyes and I saw my robes neatly folded by my bed, I've made it. I'm not a layperson, I'm a monk. And I closed my eyes and went into a deep, peaceful sleep. That kind of told me how much I aspired towards this life. And from that time on, you never had any thoughts of doing anything else other than being a monk. When other monks thought of, maybe they weren't so happy being a monk, thinking of disrobing, the word was, don't go and see Ajahn Brahm. He won't give you any sympathy at all. That's how much I love being a monk. And that's why, I've ordained many other monks in my life, and many other bhikkhunis as well. And I was kind of proud of that. It's kind of a life's work. And imagine how much job satisfaction I get. Zero money. Any stuff you give to me, I just send it off to a nun's monastery or send it off to that monastery over there. And you see where I live, a simple cave. I don't have much, although, can I make a confession to you? These glasses. Come up here, Freddie. I never bought these. This Vietnamese disciple gave them to me. He said, you must wear these. What's the make of the...
Looks.
Oh, on here. What's the make? Gucci. But I thought, hey, what? I can't tell if it's Gucci or not. But apparently it says it on one here somewhere. Yeah. You saw it, Gucci, yeah. They just give it to me, but no, I'll let you know. It doesn't look posh. No, it's not gold. I know it's just brass or whatever. So anyway, I just keep it and confess. So if any of you are short of any money, I'll give you my glasses. They must be worth something with Gucci on them. That's the only... One of the other things once that somebody gave me, it was Chao Po in Penang. He's a very lovely disciple. And he saw how many books I was signing. So he said, I'll give you a proper pen so you can sign them easily. And that's probably the best pen I've ever had. It would never kind of run dry, and it always writes smoothly. And then when I went to Singapore, someone complained. He said, Ajahn Brahm, what are you doing with Mont Blanc pen? I said, that's what it says on there. Don't you know that's a status symbol? I don't know. I don't watch the magazines or other famous people. And they said, no, it's actually really a high-class pen. So that was the end of the Mont Blanc pen. I had to give it away. And now often when I do signing of books, the pen doesn't work. Oh, I don't mind. But please don't you do that to me. I mean that. Don't go and buy me a Mont Blanc pen or something. Because, you're there to please people and not to sort of show off or anything. But anyway, you know me for a long time. That's who I am. I'm a monk. Then I wouldn't know what to do if I wasn't a monk. Anyway, so that's, for me, just all the signs were pointing in that direction. Be a monk. That's my life. That's my inclination. I never resisted that. It's a beautiful lifestyle. I really recommend it. That's the right livelihood. You can't go wrong with being a monk. Oh, good. Please understand that I mean no respect by asking this as plain and crudely, but, wonderful. Oh my goodness. No, it's not bad. What is the point of meditation, and is it for everybody? I would genuinely appreciate your explanations. That's not a gross question. Thank you for being direct and not wasting time. What is the point of meditation? It's first of all, when your mind becomes very still, it becomes very beautiful. I don't know what you think is beauty in this world. Where would you like to go? What would you like to see? Who would you like to be with? If I can give you 3 wishes, just like a genie in a bottle, what would you want? And I could grant it to you. If you ask that to me, I say, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be inside with my mind. What would you like as a gift? And I would say, nothing. gives it just more weight. They stop you being peaceful deep inside. And who would you like to be with? Just my mind, that's all. I'm very boring. But I'm being honest with you. You sit down, close your eyes, and then you're just in the land of bliss. And it's gorgeous. You stay there as long as you can. And it's also not just for the joy of it. When we say piti sukha, that's a question I'm going to answer tomorrow, because you asked it today, but I said I'll answer it tomorrow, part of the Anapanasati Sutta. It's not just for the piti sukha, which is huge. Look, I mentioned this in my talks on meditation, and just a couple of days ago someone said that they too, sometimes when you get into really deep meditation, you feel, this is true, and they repeated this, they said, yeah, they had that the other day. You feel that a human being can't take so much bliss. Big pleasure. And I reassured them, you can. There's no limit to the amount of bliss you can take as a human being. This is not ordinary stuff. This heroin addict who came here a few years ago, he wanted to get himself off heroin. He had a couple of medications to take, but it's mostly just staying by himself, alone, and eating well, keeping himself healthy, but gradually weaning himself off the addiction. And I still remember that one day I was teaching him meditation, and one day he came running towards me and said, Ajahn Brahm, look, just wait for a moment. I just had a very nice, deep meditation. And he said, I've never thought I would tell you this. I understood when you've told me, and I've told each one of you before. Sometimes people criticize me for this, but I don't mind. I'm just going to say this anyway. The bliss of meditation is much, much better than sexual orgasm. I was a layperson before I was a monk. I had a lovely girlfriend, and we would. Please excuse me. This was in the 1970s, early 70s. We were sleeping together, and I knew what sexual orgasm was. I felt sorry for her, because as soon as you started getting into the deep meditations, there was no comparison anymore. I think that's one of the reasons why she thought that she had dumped me, and that's what I told you. But it wasn't so much she had dumped me, I didn't mind at all. Because you had a much deeper, more powerful, more purer pleasure of the meditations. And he said, I've heard you say that, and I believe you. But he said, I never thought I would say this. The bliss of the meditation was much more attractive than the bliss of heroin. I've never taken heroin. I can't confirm that, but that's what he said to me. These are powerful experiences. And for you, when I first got a powerful experience in meditation, I can't say exactly what it was because I'm pushing the boundaries already. I'm not supposed to say about any of the personal stuff which you experienced. But one of the things which, I know, that sometimes people don't know what these experiences are. And so, as one of my first reactions after you have personal experience of these deep meditations is that, why has no one told me about this before? This is one of the most powerful of experiences you'll ever have. A good example. Please, I love getting into this. This inspires me. And sometimes I think, crikey, come on, monks or nuns or lay people, describe it, not as an egotistical thing, but as a beautiful gift you can give to other people to inspire them. And that was how the Buddha explained just even the first jhana. What do you experience in that first jhana? This is the first, there's another 3 to go yet, but my goodness. In the first jhana, he said, what you experience, usually for a long time, at least a couple of hours, Sambodhi Sukha. And when I first looked at it, I said, there must be some mistake here, a typographical error or something. Because Sambodhi is the Pali word for enlightenment. And we know it's not enlightenment, there's more to go yet. But what you experience, what you feel in those deep meditations is enlightenment happiness. And the Buddha felt worthy to call it that. Even though it's not enlightenment, but it's a real taste of enlightenment. Wouldn't you like to know why you're here, why you come all the way from Hong Kong, all the way from United States, all the way from Indonesia, why you've come here? Why is a person like me spending all his life as a monk? Of course you know. If you can access that degree of bliss, whew, that is more than anything else you can get. And that's not the whole point of meditation. The other point of the meditation, you were reminding me today of this, that Freddie, you reminded me. You asked me, which room was it in the men's toilets over there? Well, you can see, he knows what I'm going to talk about, many of you know as well. Once you get into these lovely meditations, your mind becomes incredibly powerful. I already mentioned the floor. After a deep meditation, look at that floor, and it is amazing. And it's not an exaggeration, it's actually the opposite, it's more than amazing. The colors, the shades, the way it's all arranged, it becomes a work of art. And on this occasion, please excuse me, it's a gross story that starts to warn you what's coming next. Like everybody else, and I love meditating with you, sitting up here whenever I can, and like you, I too eat. Like you, I have to go to the toilet. And so on this occasion, I had to get up and go to the toilets out there. I just went to the ordinary male toilets. I never went up to the teacher's cottage. And when I went in there, it was to do what they call in Australia a number 2. You know what a number 2 is, don't you? Not urination, the other one. And I made a big mistake after doing a number 2. I never flushed it yet. I had to look at it. That was my mistake. As soon as I looked at this piece of feces in the bowl for me, I went, wow, look at that. If you just had a wonderful meditation and you look at something which the whole world feels is disgusting, you see it in a totally different way. How I saw it, these little brown balls all stuck together, and it wasn't just like an ordinary shape. This was like it was carved by some Michelangelo. Honestly, I mean, if you have a look at the way these shapes interact and how they balance as it was floating in the water of the toilet bowl, that was a work of art. And the different colors of brown, it's not a uniform brown, it is different shades. And I don't know how they could balance the darker shades with the lighter shades and how it all became just like it was always meant to be, that color, those colors. Whoa. And then I noticed the fragrance. Look, I know some of you, I know maybe when you were young, or I don't know if you still do, spend so much money on perfumes. And those perfumes, people think they're attractive. But my goodness, it's not really part of the earth. It's not kind of grounded in nature. This is like the real perfumes, which was coming from that little floater in the toilet bowl. That was real, deep, and had so much more richness and depth. Now, when I say these, Chanel No. 5s, they're so superficial. And I was really appreciating, this, what was in the toilet. And of course, I realized there'd be other people waiting to get inside, and I was just sitting there and just blissing out just on what I'd created. And then I realized I have to let it go. I have to press that button on the top of the toilet. I just couldn't do it. I thought, no, this is almost like sacrilegious. It's not really recognized an amazing piece of art. Many times, honest, I thought of picking it up and taking to show all the other meditators. To me, it was one of the most beautiful things I'd seen. I could see it to a depth which I'd never seen before. And it became so attractive. And it was only that much meditation I've done in so many years, you could put your finger, no, I can't. Come on, you have to touch a button. No! And I pressed the button on the top. And all this water came out. And the most beautiful thing I've ever done was washed away forever. That was really sad. Now you may think that I'm being crazy or mad. But that actually happened. And another person, at least one, said the same thing happened to him. Just going to the toilet and nice meditation before and having a look at what everyone assumes is disgusting. And it looks so different. Now, you imagine how easy it is to watch your breath for hours. It's gorgeous when you're in deep meditation. Normally your breath is just, how can you spend half an hour just watching breath come in, breath going out, breath coming in, breath going out? And that's really boring, isn't it? You ask a young kid, what do you do in your meditation retreat, mummy? Oh, I just watch the breath coming in, the breath coming out, breath coming in, breath coming out. Get a life, mum. Of course, this is much, much deeper than anybody expects, even that amount of insight. There's this guy, a disciple, he works in CERN, it was at the Centre for Experimental, there's that big atom crasher under Switzerland and France and something, where they find out it costs billions of dollars to build and run these things, but they found out great secrets of the universe. And when I told him that story of the number 2, it's actually in the number 2 toilet in the men's toilet block. So if you ever want to put a sign up there, here was where Ajahn... Don't need to do that. But anyway, when I told him, and he trusts me, I'm not exaggerating when I told him this story, he said, he's a fundamental particle physicist, this guy. So he's a really intelligent fellow. He said, I always wanted to know the answer. What is beauty? How much money do some of you spend on beauty? Beautifying your car, your house, yourself. Do you know what beauty is? When I saw how just a piece of feces could be one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in the world, I realized that beauty does not live in the eye of the beholder. Beauty lives in your mind. When your mind is very pure and clear of hindrances, then what you look at is incredibly beautiful. Whatever it is. So do you want to have do you want to have a really good time in the next 5 or 6 days at Jhana Grove, where you look at everything is beautiful and the food I don't know how your food tastes yet, but one thing I will guarantee, if you do your meditation and really get into it, towards the end of this retreat, you'll be thinking, whoever the cooks are, wow, how lucky we are to get such perfect cooks. They don't just become good cooks, they become deserving of Michelin 5 stars. That's what happens. Even the food, you can taste so much in it. What's happening here is your mind is becoming empowered. When it becomes empowered, then if you want to have loving kindness towards, some sickness in your body or ache in your legs, zap, zap. And that's not a joke. It's amazing the power you have. And that also means you have much better health, longer life, more kindness. You can give so much to other people. That's pretty good. But then you can actually see exactly how your mind and body are all made up. You can understand life. At the moment, you want to find your meaning in life, but you don't know really what life is. You're like, half blind. So of course you sometimes bang into things in life. Why did that happen to me? Sometimes you blame yourself or blame others. It's not you or others. It's just, the mindfulness is still making your understanding, your wisdom dark, so you can't really know which way to go properly. That's the purpose of meditation. Not much. Okay, I'll do another question. Oh my goodness. There we go. My friend can only feel love from her pet, a cat. The cat had the cat died 2 years ago, and she cannot let go of it still. Is there anything I can do for her? Sometimes the best thing is to get another cat. Don't ask her, do you want one? Just dump one on her. Sometimes, she sees that little cat. How can you resist it? And so you soon adopt it. That's one thing you can do to her. But later on in life, the next thing you can do is offer her. Don't ask her, does she want to go to a meditation retreat? Just buy a ticket, and a plane ticket, wherever she's coming from, book her a place in one of these retreats, and just put that in an envelope for her. I've got you a ticket for the next meditation retreat in Jhana Grove. Here's the air ticket. It's amazing. If you've actually just received a ticket for the retreat, and you have the air ticket as well, if you really, 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 really want to make sure she comes, then make the ticket first class. Make it irresistible. Would that work for you? Would it work for you, Della? Yeah. No hesitation there. Excellent. Okay. That's one way. Sometimes I kind of said we should have like a prize at the end of the retreat. What would be the best prize? What would you like to win? Come back here again? Yeah. There we go. So, best thing is then just don't even leave. It's much cheaper for us. Okay. Oh, the feeling of abandonment made me feel like I'm not worth it. Feeling of abandonment means not worth it. It's a great privilege to be abandoned. That girlfriend who dumped me 50 odd years ago, I got so much gratitude towards her. And I meant to say this to exaggerate or expand on what I said earlier. If we did find her, I don't know what happened to her, and if she actually came in here, I would actually say, about getting a collection for her out of gratitude. Thank you for dumping Ajahn Brahm. Otherwise, we wouldn't have our teacher. Would you make a contribution out of thanks for her? Well done. So sometimes abandoning, is that being dealt harshly? You can look at it in another way. You're being given this wonderful gift of freedom. You know, often people ask me, when it's close to my birthday again, I just have so many birthdays, I have to enjoy one every year. And a lot of time people ask, Ajahn Brahm, what can we get you for your birthday? Get a special gift. I know just we give things to other monasteries and projects and think about others on your birthday, but what just for you? Ajahn Brahm, just for you. Okay, no one else. What can I get for you? You've helped me. What can I get for Ajahn Brahm, just for you? You know what I want? Get a nice box. No, it doesn't have to be a big box, like a small shoe box. And then wrap it in beautiful birthday paper, a nice little ribbon, and to Ajahn Brahm, with gratitude from all of us. And inside that box, are you listening carefully? Inside that box, put nothing. When I open it, nothing. Thank you, Della, that's exactly what I wanted. I did that to myself with just a little exercise in my early years as a monk. I got a little box and I wrapped it all up, but before I wrapped it up, I put this little card. And on that card, I wrote P-E-A-C-E, peace. And I pretended. I wrapped it all up and I put it sort of, where in the monastery the mail was received. It had my name on it. And then just later on that afternoon, they said it was a parcel for me. So I received it and I opened it up slowly. And when I opened it up, I saw inside, peace. I said it to myself. Sometimes I write on there, if I thought I'd done something wrong, I put forgiveness. If you're sick, you write health. You said it to yourself. If no one else will send it to you, why not send it to yourself? But actually do it, as if you really are sending health to yourself. During the COVID time, did you find it just kind of cold during the COVID time? You couldn't hug your best friends. And I can't hug them anyway, because there's all these rules for sexual assault and stuff, let alone my Vinaya. I can't do this and I can't do that. But I found a way out of that. Instead, I learned how to spread loving kindness to myself. You can join in now if you wish. Put out your arms. And just follow what I'm doing. Bring them in. I learned how to hug myself. How does it feel? Ooh. Really get into it. No one could arrest me for that. I'm hugging myself. It's not against any rules I know in the Vinaya, so give yourself a hug. And it feels really quite uplifting and beautiful. You can do that before you go to bed tonight. Give yourself a hug. But you have to really do it. Don't go, oh yeah, and put your arms Get into it, and then you can get its full benefit. Okay, what else am I supposed to answer? The feeling of abandonment made me feel like I'm not worth it. Oh my goodness. Look, how many people have abandoned me? I have to live on my own, go to bed alone at night. No one cares for me. No one has a connection with me. You know this story? Please let me know if I'm going on too long, because I can go on all night sometimes. I realized once I got old, I'm not going to say I'm getting old, once I got old, that sooner or later something might go wrong and I have to go and get some medicines or something. And in Australia, if you're over, I forget what age it was, 65 or 70 or something, I was way over that age, and you can get what's called a Commonwealth Australian healthcare card, seniors. And then you get very cheap medication if you need it. So I thought, I better do it. So I went online, and then they said, no, you cannot just do it online. You have to turn up at one of the centre care shops, that's the social services network in Australia, and we have to prove who you are, because there's too much identity fraud in Australia. You have to come in. So I made an appointment and turned up at the social services place. And then when I said who I am, and they said, oh, you've got to go and see this senior worker in the social works department. And the first thing she said to me was, can you prove who you are? And then I said to her, I was being honest. I said, I've been a monk for at that time, about 48 years. And I said, I still haven't been able to prove who I am. That's a very deep question in Buddhism. I wish you were that officer, because she got very angry at me. I was being serious. She said, no, I need some ID. Can I see your driving license? I said, I'm a monk, I don't have a driving license. Oh, crikey. Could I see your credit card? I don't have a credit card. Could I see your bank accounts? I don't have a bank account. Could I see your home ownership certificate? I don't own a home. I've got a cave, but that belongs to BSWA, not me. Oh, can I see your rental agreement from the Buddhist Society of Western Australia? I don't pay rent. I built the cave. I actually didn't build it, but my friends did. Okay, so can we see, what else have you got? Your marriage certificate to your wife. They actually asked that. And I tried to keep a straight face. I said, no, I'm not married, I'm a monk, I'm celibate. What about your what else do you have? National insurance. I don't work. Actually, I do work, but not for money, so I don't have this national health insurance. Pension card, I don't have a pension. Superannuation, I don't have that. And I don't have any of those things. And then she looked at me. This was a real conversation, I don't make this up. She said, well, if you haven't got those things, you don't exist. And I couldn't resist by saying, sadhu, 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 the Buddha was right. You have some fun sometimes. So being abandoned, that's great, you have a lot of joy being abandoned. Sometimes people have like these homeless shelters. I'm homeless. I don't own a home. I'm I'm below the poverty line. The more monks we have in Serpentine, the more that Serpentine gets considered to be a low socio-economic area. We don't have any money. We don't need it. I'm not asking for anything because I don't want it. Please don't give it to us. Honestly, if you give us too many donations, you know what happens next, don't you? Then all the monks have to work. We haven't got any money, we can't afford anything. It's a much more peaceful life. It is. Anyway. Is there any way that I can find love, peace inside yourself? Yeah. Give yourself a good hug. And when you go to bed tonight, tell yourself, the door of my heart is always open to myself, no matter whatever happens in life. To love yourself is your gift to yourself. No one else can give that. You know, that's a beautiful time of your life when you realize the power of that. Because my father told me that, but I always thought that that's what you give to others. You know, unconditional love. The door of my heart will always be open to you, whoever you are, no matter what you do, no matter who you are. But then one day you say that to yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, me, this person that I've lived with all my life, the person I can't get away from, this person I know all the secrets, all the stuff which I've got up to in my life, whoever I am, you say that to yourself, really, honestly, 100% sincerity. The door of my heart's open to me. I will never shut myself out. Come in. The unconditional acceptance to yourself. My goodness, that's incredibly powerful. If you want to get some really deep meditation, do that first. Because you allow yourself in. There's no struggle anymore. You find automatic, natural state of peace. Does it mean that I can only rely on myself for feeling loved and safe? You learn how to love yourself and feel safe. And so many other people will show you their love as well. Not ownership. No one owns you, you don't own yourself. But you can have this beautiful relationship to all beings. You can love everybody. I mean that. Sometimes people do stupid things, and instead of getting angry, that's what Ajahn used to do. He would laugh. We stupid Western monks, we gave so much happiness to our teacher. He couldn't believe how stupid we were. And he would laugh, 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 laugh. He'd never get angry or upset. Just thought it was so funny. You go to these big universities, and you just don't even know just how to wipe your own backside when you go to the toilet. How are you going? You're tired now? I want to have a sleep? No. Okay, I'm going to make it more boring. While sitting, different parts of body feel pain and can't go away. What can we do? Keep sitting and looking at the painful area, or dig or something it, and focus on breathing. Are you tired yet? When I make the answer monotone and I don't make it exciting to listen to, soon you'll get really tired and bored and you let me go to my room to have a rest. Doesn't work, does it? I'm messing around. Okay, I'll answer this question. The other ones we'll leave till tomorrow. While sitting, different parts of the body feel pain and can't go away. And that's weird, because sometimes you just keep sitting there. You don't. bother about it. Don't try and get rid of it. It's to trying to get rid of it maintains the pain. To tell the story, I should have told this a long time ago. This was the Empress, there was the monster in the Empress's palace. One of the Buddha's great stories. I've adapted it. The Buddha never told it exactly like I'm going to tell you it. But an empress was at the Buddhist center in Hong Kong, in Biff, and while the empress was in Biff, this monster came in to her palace. And this monster was so big and violent and so angry and so aggressive, the scariest, most frightening monster you can ever imagine. And because of that, the security, they were too afraid to stop the monster coming into the palace. Instead, the security, they hid under the table. They just went into the cupboards. They went under the blankets to hide. They were so afraid of the monster walked right into the palace, into the main room of the palace, and sat on the Empress's throne. No one stopped because they were too scared. He was big, violent, and he also stank as well. And so when he sat on the Emperor's throne, the guards, the soldiers, even the servants there, they thought, my goodness, we better do something, otherwise we'll be in big trouble when the Empress comes back. So they got out from underneath the cupboards and underneath the tables, and they said, you have to leave. This is not your place. Get out. And of those few unkind words, the monster grew an inch bigger, more ugly, more smelly, more offensive, and bigger. And that really upset the soldiers and the guards. They got out their swords, they got out pieces of wood, and they threatened the monster. If you don't leave now, you'll be in big trouble, worse trouble. Get out while you can, now. Was that convincing with anger? Wasn't? Okay, I thought it was quite good. That's why I stopped to ask you. It's very hard to be an actor when you don't really believe in it. So anyway, the monster kept getting bigger and uglier and smellier. And soon the stench coming off from this monster was so bad that even the maggots crawling on the monster's skin, they threw up. Even the maggots were sick. So, that was when the Empress came in. When the Empress came in, she saw the situation. This huge, smelly, ugly, violent, gross monster sitting in her chair, and all of the soldiers being totally ineffective. And she understood straight away what to do. She looked at that monster and said to the monster, welcome. Thank you for coming to visit. Why have you waited so long to drop in? Has anyone got you something to drink yet? We have beautiful tea with condensed milk. I know it's probably Ajahn Brahm, but we can share some for you if you need it. We have herbal tea, very good for your health, peppermint tea. It makes your breath sound like toothpaste. But how about something to eat? We have some noodles. I shouldn't mention food at this time of the night for those of you promising not to eat. We've got this beautiful, steaming, tasty, fragrant noodles there. You can see the steam coming off the pot where they're boiling. Sorry to torture you. And then every kind word the Empress said, the monster shrank an inch smaller, less ugly, less smelly, less offensive. And so all of the soldiers, the guards, they realized their mistake. So they started getting this beautiful set of different types of teas and fruit juices and offer it to the monster, and food. They have so many different types of sandwiches and spring rolls and everything you could possibly imagine. And they were so kind. Even some of the soldiers, some of the big ones, they said to the monster, "Have you ever had a foot massage? It's very good for your health," and it really feels. So about a dozen soldiers got on each toe, and they started massaging the toe, with a lot of kindness. And the monster was really enjoying it. Oh, yeah, that feels so nice. And every time he got a good massage or got a nice sandwich or something to eat, because of the kindness, the monster grew an inch smaller, less frightening, less aggressive, and more kinder. Until soon the monster was back to the size when it first came in. But the guards and the soldiers never stopped. They kept on massaging him and giving him things to eat. And massaged his shoulders. He had such a big head. Can you imagine how much shoulder pain a monster would have? Oh, yeah, that's much better. And eventually, the monster got so small that one more act of kindness and the monster vanished completely away. And that story is in the Yaka Samyutta, and it's called the story of the anger-eating monster. Can you recognize anger-eating monsters in this world? You may have a boss at work, a family member, husband, wife. You give them anger, what happens? They get bigger. You say that to me? And they get bigger and bigger the more you upset them. Anger-eating monk? Tumors? Get out of here, tumor. You don't belong in my body. What happens to the tumor? It gets bigger, more ugly. You're feeding it negativity, tiredness, stress. So that's one of the reasons why it takes a lot of courage. You have a tumor in your body, say, "Welcome, tumor. Thank you for visiting me. You can come and stay with me as well." If you could really do that, 100%, that tumor would have no chance. So many tumors are anger-eating monsters. Pains in your body. Welcome, pain. Thank you for visiting me. That's what Ajahn Chah told me when I complained to him about mosquitoes in Thailand. I had so many mosquitoes. And when I said, "Can we purchase some mosquito repellent?" He said, "No." He said, "Look at those mosquitoes and call them Ajahn mosquito. They're your teacher from now on." Thank you very much. That doesn't help. That's what I thought, but was too scared to say. But that's what you could do. You know what I found? I found that when you're meditating in the jungle, you had about 5 or 10 minutes when the mosquitoes hadn't found you yet. And if you got into a quiet meditation and your body really settled down, then when you came out of the meditation, you would find no mosquito bumps on your bites on your skin. And I thought, Ajahn Chah is so wise. Deep meditation is like something magical happening. You don't get bitten by mosquitoes. But instead I found, no, it wasn't magical, it was just science and nature. Mosquitoes are attracted to the carbon dioxide coming out from the pores of your skin. The more metabolism you have, the higher the metabolism, because you're worried and concerned, then the more you're saying to the mosquitoes, hey mosquitoes, we're over here. Come on, there's many seats on the table here and you've got a safe meal. We're Buddhists, so we're never going to swat you. But when you really relax, you let go and don't worry at all, mosquitoes can't find you. You vanish. I did that so often. So what the mosquitoes taught me is when you start meditating, don't mess around. Don't go sort of thinking about dinner or lunch or this or that. Just allow the mind to rest, become still. And then you get so deep in the meditation, your body kind of vanishes and the mosquitoes can't find them. So you come out of meditation. They were encouraging me to not mess around when I was meditating. Thank you, mosquitoes. Okay, if you don't believe me, go and sit outside and we can magic up some mosquitoes. But I think that's enough. It's 9:25. So, honestly, did I go on too long, or was that inspiring for you, interesting for you? That was good. I give you a thumbs up. Okay, shall I go on? No, enough. Okay, so thank you all for listening. So, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All that time I didn't finish them all. Not that many left. Okay, for tomorrow. So good night, everybody.